Impact just went off the air a while ago, and we are here for our Impact review show. We got the great Grand Poober and Dan the Man. We're going to talk about Impact. We want to hear you guys' thoughts in the chat. We hope you guys are following Unpopular Review on all social media platforms. We're talking about Facebook, Instagram. It's not Twitter anymore, right? It's called like
X.
X. So we're
X.
just going to say X is going to give it to you. Follow us on all these social medias, and we are going to give our review after the intro.
What is going on, my man?
I am pretty well, Dan the Man. It is great to be back here on Thursday to talk about Impact. This is what episode 4 at this point. You've done 3 of them. The executive consultant has been fired, and now we are here. They have left us in charge to talk about Impact. You know, thoughts. I mean, what was your thoughts? If you have any thoughts, why don't you add some quick thoughts as I try to share this on. It's not Twitter anymore. Act's gonna give it to you, but give some thoughts, Dan the Man.
You know, Impact is a steady, nice trend upward right now. I think they're offering a nice third alternative to what we have going on with WWE and AEW right now. And I believe at this point, besides NJPW, they are the longest tenured wrestling promotion. I think at this point.
They are. They're. It's over 20 years. So was it 21? Because I feel like they celebrated. Yeah, last year. Excuse me.
Yeah, what we're in 2023, so it's been 21 years, I'd say.
21. Yeah.
2002, I guess, is when it debuted, right? 2002.
Yes, 2002. You're absolutely right. It's
Yeah.
amazing because time flies by so fast. I mean, when you talk about this, how long Impact has been around, and you think about people who has counted out Impact for years. At that, they have counted it out for years. Always said, "Oh, it's not going to last." But to sit here and be here for 20 years, and also when you're reminded on social media, right, when they talk about Impact, and they're like, they have lasted longer than WCW, ECW,
Yep.
and you go, "Wow, that is a shout out to them," and also ROH. I know what this is an Impact review show, but also shout out to Impact. I mean ROH because they have been around just as long. I don't know which between these brands which came first, but these guys have been around for 20 something years and have given us such great stars. This is not the debut episode of the um, Impact Review, but we were saying before when we did one of the first episodes, we talked about them creating stars like AJ Styles, Samoa Joe, and you can go on, Chris Sabin, Alex Shelley. I had to throw Alex Shelley because my co-host Shay Sawyer, shout out to her. She says bloop that part, but I had to add Alex Shelley because I know she's a big fan. We see Jeffrey in the chat. He says, "What's going on, Jack and Dan the Man?" We thank you guys for joining us for this review. Why don't we talk why don't we open up with Impact? I write notes the old way. I write it on a notebook. People text, but I'm in my 30s. My text hand is not what it used to be. My thumb uh refuses to do that because
It's the
no.
factors.
Yeah, no, and I'm winded. I sit here and I get like I have a TikTok and I immediately winded because they do these dances, and I sit here and said I can't do that. My knees are not what my knees are still what they used to be, but I refuse to show it. We see Jeffrey. He said, "I'm sure the normal." No, this chair sucks. But let's open up. Trinity opens up. They're in Chicago. I know a thing about Chicago. Can I tell you something about Chicago, Dan? Let me tell. Okay, great. So I went to Chicago, right? I went earlier this year, right? No thanks to Southwest, who keeps sending me emails about I have points. I don't like you at all, Southwest, because you have been you're gross. But anyway, I went to Chicago, right? Boom, and I said, "Hey, why don't we try Chicago pizza?" But they knew the bad guy was there, and they hid from me, and they didn't never shared any of that Chicago pizza because they knew it don't stand a chance against New York pizza, baby.
Wait,
And I went through it.
So did you get some Chicago pizza?
No, because they were scared because the bad guy was in town. We went to this restaurant, right? It was really good. They gave me wings, and I appreciate getting wings because that's what makes me happy. There's three things that make me happy in life: wings, tacos, and Bill Goldberg being defeated, right? Because I
Oh,
enjoy it. I'm sorry, are you a Bill Goldberg fan? Hold on, wait a minute. Wait a minute, because this partnership might not last. You need to
I
pass the back test.
I
I'm
am
sorry, what?
from 2000 from 1997 till on that was my childhood hero. As a child, I loved Bill Goldberg. That was the man. Why do you think I am Dan the man?
Danny, man, I want you to know your services have been appreciated here on Thursdays. So I want you to understand that I want you to know that that next week you will be replaced by the executive consultant, and
Oh,
yeah, I want you to understand that. I want you to leave your glasses on the table, and thank you for being on Popular Review because what the hell, man? Let me
listen,
tell you
man.
something. You know why I don't like Bill Goldberg? Ask me who's my favorite wrestler. Go ahead, ask me. I
Come
know you
on,
don't know this.
go ahead.
It's Bret Hart.
Listen, accidents happen. It was a terrible thing. I will tell you this: as a child, you don't look at things in the light of who is a great wrestler. You look at who has a great character. And I looked at the great character, and I looked at this larger than life type of person
You know
who
why Bill Goldberg already lost in my book? You see what we both have? Look on the top of your head. Look, what do you have on top of your head?
a brain
It's hair. That's right. So
hair.
I want you to know, Dan, I appreciate you. I'm glad that we are doing this show together because I think you're great. But I want you to understand, Bill Goldberg talk is not allowed in front of me. You can ask Jeffrey, you can ask Shay Sawyer, and there. I don't know why she have a capital S at the end of her name. That's ridiculous. That's very arrogant, madam. But I sit here and say Bill Goldberg is not allowed to be spoken in front of me. Matter of fact, now before I go to sleep, now I have to play 2K and I have to put a handicap match. It's going to be me, Morgan Freeman, and I need a third person. I got to figure it out. It's going to be Charizard. I'm going to look at going to download the best Charizard version, and we're going to beat up Bill Goldberg, and I'm going to send it your way just to let you know you did this. But let's talk about Trinity. Let's talk about something good. We have Trinity opens up Impact.
With, in my opinion, one of the best wrestlers on the planet, Deonna Purrazzo.
There we go. Listen, I'm not going to make no smoking crack reference because I don't know anything about that activity. You don't look like you know anything about that. I don't know why the executive consultant was just yelling. This chat is wild because you know what? This lady with the just so arrogant right here. I'm sorry. Can I just highlight a comment right here? Because I want to talk about Impact, but she's just so rude. Look at this. The lady with the capital S at the end. Bad guy's favorite moment is the Montreal screw job. Let me tell you something.
Oof, oof.
No, it's not. No, it's not. You know, this show could go off the rails because I could talk about Bret Hart. I met Bret Hart. I met Bret Hart this year. He was
Did you?
great. He was fantastic. Yeah, I did. He smelled Canadian, and I appreciate that.
Let me tell you something. At the end of the day, Bret screwed Bret.
I'm sorry. What? What is happening on this show? Why am I being? What is this? Amateur hour? Brett didn't do no such thing. Brett was a professional, a custom professional. Shawn Michaels, who sniffs nothing but dust, and he was immature. And Brett is the man. Listen, you guys should be grateful for Brett because I'm sorry. What did you say?
Oh,
Dan the man.
listen,
Dan the man. Right now, no. You lost the man part. Now that's copyrighted by Unpopular Review. You can't be
listen.
Dan the man. Now you're just Dan.
Dan.
You're Glass Dan. Glass Dan. That's what you name. Glass Dan.
That is fine. That is fine because you know what? At the end of the day, Bret Hart was a phenomenal wrestler.
Okay, you're winning me over now. Okay.
He was genuinely. There would not be the Attitude Era. There would not be wrestling today if there was
Thank you.
not a Bret Hart. Now,
Oh my God. You're winning me over. Okay, you're rehired.
he is one of the best technical wrestlers that this industry has ever seen.
and he's Canadian.
Very, in as much love as he gets, he's still underrated. Now, what it comes down to is
Shut up, Shay.
the WWE or WWF, Vince McMahon, got in their feelings because they did not want to, as one of the best lines ever goes, show me the money. They did not want to show the money to Bret Hart and show their appreciation for what he did for them. And he went and he took his ball and he went somewhere else. I don't blame him for what he did. What Vince McMahon did was incomprehensible. It was one of the worst things that you could do to a person. I understand. My biggest thing that I don't believe in is giving creative control.
Yeah. No, I can agree to that. No, I agree to that. I think that is the worst thing you can ever do to a superstar. That's why I even tell people, when you look at the Montreal, we're not going to make that too much. We're going to talk about Impact. But I do agree to that because you give a wrestler creative control, and you can't blame that wrestler if he's like, hey, or he or she, and they're like, hey, they pitch a finish, and they're like, no, that sucks.
Right.
You can't get mad at them. You gave them creative control, and that's their right because you put that in there.
Right.
So I totally and utterly agree to that because he was against that. But we're not here to talk about the Montreal Screwjob. I mean, as much as I love talking about, yes.
No, I mean, I could sit here and talk about screw jobs for days. I mean, I watched Dark Side of the Ring a couple days ago for the Bash at the Beach 2000 segment. That was in itself another screw job right there.
And I want to give a shout out because in the chat is one of the hosts because we do a Dark Side review, Dark Side of the Ring review. I did not get to see WCW 2000 the Dark Side yet. Maybe for tonight. Sorry, hiccups. But the lady with the capital S, very arrogant, by the way, just outrageously arrogant. Who has Dan? Do you have a capital at the end of your name? No. But here she is with a capital S. I every chance I get, I try to aim at her and just say stuff. But
having
they do a review.
S at the end of your name is like having a capital L.
That's the executive. Because he collects L's.
100%.
And she said the S is silent. Then she's lying. That shit is loud, Sawyer. But Trinity opens up. She talks about around this time. Thank you guys for watching Impact and watching me yell. But she's talking about last year, thinking about quitting. You know, she was really at her lowest, but the fans really kept her in good spirit. Deonna comes out here. And she talks about how when Trinity first came out, it was her that came out in the beginning, and now roles are reversed. Trinity is the champion. Deonna is coming out here and talking about a rematch. Then the Coven comes out. They said Coven things. They're speaking. They're speaking. I'm sorry. I know it's Taylor Wilde, but I can't think. I always forget the other one's name. She's really big. It's something King. What's her name? I can't think of her name. Taylor Wilde's partner for the Coven. I can't think of her name. It's something King. I apologize that I don't remember the name. But she was pointing out how she was Trinity's first opponent.
Teelan King.
Teelan King. There we go. I was just testing you out to see because you're a Bill Goldberg fan, so I had to see where you was at.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I hope you don't kick me in the head now.
Be careful.
You think you're so funny, Dan.
I don't think. No.
I don't think either. I just go out in life and just pray for the best.
It's all you can do.
I'm trying to like have a match for next year's WrestleMania. Me and Cocaine Bear.
Okay.
Thank you. I'm trying to get that out there.
Okay.
Let's make that happen. Thank you. We need a special ref too. Not Earl Hebner because we see what he can do.
Can we start a GoFundMe for this? Can we get this rolling?
I've been praying for that all this time. Like you know, I literally have a special page where I show my elbows and nothing happened. So yeah, let's go have a GoFundMe because the elbow game is just ridiculous.
So on this page you have an elbow. So is that kind of like an OnlyFans page for your elbows?
I don't want to get too deep into this. I feel like right now I need to be professional. We're on Popular Review, and this is not the kind of show for this.
Listen, this is essentially the time of Nick at Night, right? You are ready This is TV 17. You got to get in there now. You can talk about
We
it.
got I feel very attacked here because we got Jeffrey in the chat. Shout out to Jeffrey because he shows up every Thursday. Shout out to you, Jeffrey. The man is brilliant because I know he graduated college. I went into college one time and they just said no. So shout out to Jeffrey. We also got the lady with the capital S at the end saying we have two hosts a minute to not thinking. Oh my gosh, yes, that because we're honest duo. But the Coven comes out. They called Deanna's face stupid, which is not because she's a really pretty girl. But they and it was funny because she said my face is stupid, and Trinity was like, "No, girl," and she said, "Thank you." I thought that was so cool. I thought that was cute. A brawl happens between the Coven and Trinity and Deanna Palazzo, who is not dressed to wrestle. I also see Jeffrey right into the chat. He was talking about Trinity's hair, which looked great because her name is in the it's like in the middle or something like that. It's really some really good stuff, really colorful stuff. Love it. A brawl happens, which sets up for because Santino comes out and he says, "Oh, we see we have some kind of thing going on here, right? There's a fight and all this stuff." He said, "We're gonna have a tag team. We're gonna have a tag team match."
He pulled
That
the
was
tag
great
on.
player.
Player.
We get this match. I thought this match was solid. I thought it was a good opener. You know, you had the baby faces going against the heels, and it was a good back and forth match. But I was relatively surprised that the Coven got the random hiccups, got done random hiccups. But I thought this match was solid. I thought it was good. I was surprised that we had the Coven go over, and I thought that was the right move to do because you need the Coven. So the Coven lost the tag team championships, right? What, 2 weeks ago or something like that, and I feel like they lost not that long ago too. So now you need to reestablish them. I don't think they need to keep losing. I thought them going putting the Coven over and Deanna taking the pin because you're not going to have Trinity eat the pin. There's a spot with Trinity accidentally
burying Deanna in the process.
I don't think so though. I think she has enough momentum. Now, granted, she did lose that championship match, but I feel like she's so established that
She is.
her losing it doesn't hurt, but you don't want her to keep losing.
You don't.
And I don't see her winning that championship back. I know that in the promo, I did want to touch on this a little bit if I can. Deanna says, "Okay, you beat me, but no one's ever beaten me twice." And Trinity said, "Bet I can." And I see Trinity getting that win back. So,
I can see it.
but I don't see it as a barrier. I think Deanna is going to be perfectly fine. She's going to be all right. She's all right. I think she's like a if I can say like a main staple in Impact. So I think she'll be fine. And yes, we are funny, Shay Sawyer. Thank you for that. That's why, not for nothing. Can I brag for a minute, Dan? I won funniest host. I've been winning. I've won for the last 10 years. Even though I'm probably been around for 4, but I've won 10 years, and I will not be dropping it anytime soon. But Dan the man, take the floor.
Who votes on this, Pooba? Who votes on this?
I sit here and say people with thinking caps. Not a lot of people wear that, and I want that to be a fashion once again.
This is an interesting thing, and I did not know this, but Deanna Purrazzo, her contract is actually up on January 1st.
Wow! Oh, next year! Wow!
Yes.
Do you? And now that you throw that out there, let me throw this question out.
She'll only be 29.
Wow, she's so young. I remember when I was 29. That was years ago.
Those were the days.
I know.
Go ahead, Pooba. Go ahead.
But no, let me ask you this. So now that you throw that out there, so let me ask you this: do you think that she re-signs with Impact, or do you think she goes out and see what is out there in the universe? Ooh, we got real quick before you go in there. That's interesting. Shay Sawyer says I can see Deanna going to AEW. I would love her to. Yeah.
That I think I'm pretty sure we're in August right now. This is the time that Deanna passes the torch to Trinity, and she will be leaving. In my opinion, she will be leaving and going to AEW.
And I don't think that's a bad move. I think if any brand that can bring Deanna is lucky, right? When she was let go by WWE, I thought that was a huge mistake.
Absolutely.
And I was even thinking maybe go back to WWE.
No,
But if she goes to AEW, my only thing is AEW. Let me ask you real quick. How do you feel about AEW's booking of the women?
it is. It is not good.
Mm,
It is very, very mid.
mm.
And after we had this fiasco last week with the signage that was up, and
Yeah,
book women's
yeah.
wrestling better, they gave us exactly two matches. So that you had the main event on Dynamite 200,
Hmm.
which it wasn't a bad match, but it shouldn't have been the main event.
You don't think so? You know what I think that the reason why they did that, I feel like they did that just to make up from for last week because last week's that's what I was totally thinking. But go
They
ahead, take
did, they did, and well, the thing was that, but I don't like that kind of virtue signaling. Be upfront about it, and
hmm
put your best foot forward. Don't put it out there because it's the right thing to do,
Sure.
or it's what we should be doing, or it's what we're getting the backlash on. You don't like one thing that I will commend Vince McMahon on is he doesn't listen to the fans over everything. Now, it's a positive and a negative because there's a lot of things he should listen to the fans on, and there's a lot of things he shouldn't. Now, when the crowd's giving you like what happened with Daniel Bryan and Kofi Kingston, you
Yeah.
go with it because they're
Right.
special moments and they're things
Right.
that you can have and build.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah. Yeah.
you don't listen to everything. You don't listen to everything, but they will tell you what they're buying into and not buying into.
Yeah.
And it's a prime example where I know we're jumping all over here right now, but it's a big reason on why Sami Zayn should have had the title and Jey Uso should have the title right now because those are the two hottest guys right now, and they should have put the damn belt on Cody Rhodes back when they had the chance to. But that's neither here nor there.
Hmm.
I'm telling you, these are mistakes that the WWE is making. On the other hand, right now you have AEW
There's
who
nothing. Yeah.
got a little bit of backlash over some BS, and then
No, you can cuss. You're allowed to cuss here.
so you're gonna have some bullshit on that, and then
Oh.
it wasn't a bad match by any means. It wasn't a bad
Yeah.
match.
No, it was. It really wasn't. I thought it was a solid match. Yeah. No, I thought it was solid. Yeah.
And I mean, I was there with the executive consultant, and we were sitting there, and I saw they were bringing out the confetti blowers, and I'm like, Sheeta's about to damn win this thing, and
Mm.
it was shocking. It was shocking.
Right. It was.
I wasn't expecting that. I think Tony Storm is a great wrestler, and I
She
really
is.
like Tony Storm. I'm surprised that they took the belt off of her so close to All In.
I think they. You know what I think? I think that, and I'll get into the chat in a minute because we see you guys in the chat. But I think that they had original plans. I think it was something with Tony and I can't think of this girl. She was she was
Jamie
injured. Yes, and I think they wanted to do that, but she's going to be out a lot longer.
Right.
And they just said, why don't we go a different route? I think they had a route that they wanted to go to,
Yep.
and things changed.
They did.
Because I mean, I'm going to cut you off, but I do agree. I was really surprised, and I wasn't. You guys were there live, and you was able to see
Yeah.
the confetti thing and everything. But when I heard that she won, and I was watching, I said, "Whoa, that was different." We
Yeah.
got also Jeffrey. He writes in the chat. He says he was saying and talking about Deanna not teaming up with Chelsea, right? Because they were called BXT, and that was a shame that they didn't. Because I think there could have been something in the WWE.
Really,
So
that was a great little tag team they had.
right, and didn't they have a little run in Impact? Because I'm just getting back into Impact, so there's a lot of things that I miss.
Yeah, no, they did. They had a little run where they were kind of together there for a little bit. Deanna really did a lot of great things. She was in some great storylines, and I think it's a really she doesn't get the audience that I think she deserves as a performer. And I think she has basically hit the pinnacle of her career on what Impact is going to do. And don't get me wrong, she made the right decision going to Impact because it made her.
Oh, absolutely, I concur.
And I think she's been She's been on AEW maybe one or two matches or something like that.
She was the ROH Women's Champion. I know she dropped it to Mercedes. I almost said Monet. I'm sorry, Habit, but Martinez, I believe, because they had a match and she did drop the title, but she was on AEW. I also
Yes.
wanted to touch on Shay Sawyer's comment, and she says, "Always gotta listen to your audience. Sometimes that trumps what the story would have been." And I think it's gotta be a middle, right?
It
Like
is.
I do agree you have to listen to your audience, and I'm glad that there would have been there's been a lot of great times. The whole stuff, and I believe you mentioned this just in as you were talking, but you mentioned Daniel Bryan and what was that, 2014. They had a way, they wanted to have the stuff, and shout out to Batista. I don't think he gets enough credit. Or matter of fact, I gotta give him a shout out because in 2014, uh social media is awful because they wasn't calling him Batista. They were calling him Blue-tista, Bootista. I think they were coming up with all these different names with him. But shout out to Batista because he's great.
Fantastic.
But it was great that they didn't go that route with him. And this is no disrespect to Batista, but going with Daniel Bryan and there's so many other different examples too. Um, but we also got Jeffrey said, yeah, they teamed up as champs and Impact, and of course, sometimes the story is worth it. Absolutely, totally concur and agree. We're gonna move forward. We had Slate, Heath Slate. It's
And
Heath
you know what's
Slate,
actually
right?
going to be funny is on Rampage,
I like to laugh.
you're going to get a Rampage main event that will be women and no titles on the line.
Mhm.
And you're going to
Who's
get
in the man? Who's in the?
Sky Blue and Anna Jay. And I did not understand how that was going to be the Rampage main event.
I guess they're just trying to show. I guess they saw that sign and and this is just a hunch. I don't know for sure. Obviously, don't know for sure, but I think they tried to,
It's not it.
now that it's
It's just not it.
no, and listen, I get it. I totally understand. I'm just trying to understand why they're doing it, and I think that is why they're doing it because they saw that sign and they said, okay, we got you, and
Yep.
we're gonna do this. But I get what you're saying. Where you're like, yeah, this is probably not the route. We had Slate against Alan Angel. I thought this match was it did what it needed to do. The storyline is who's the bigger rock star. Slate got the win. I just wanted to just run real quick by that. There was nothing really to talk about.
It's a pass.
We had Eric Young. He was being interviewed, and the interviewer asked him about like
What do you think about the interviewer for Impact, Gia Miller? I mean,
she's fine. She's fine. I don't. So I don't have a definitive like. Oh yeah, no, she's gonna be like my Mount Rushmore, but she does her job. She's a cute girl. She's able to. She asks the questions, and
Right.
I think she does her job pretty well. But why? What do you have some thoughts? You want to add in?
I think I think she's fine. I'd like to see some improvement in her. I know that they're trying to get her a little more involved, and she's doing some commentary on before what is it before
Oh, but like before before
the
Impact come on, right?
or whatever. Yeah,
Yeah.
whatever. So I mean, they're trying to get her more involved. I'd like to see a little more growth from her. But I think I think
Mhm.
she struggles a little bit with calling the play by play and doing commentary.
I've never seen her in commentary, so that's probably why. Like when you ask that, so I've always just seen her backstage, and she would ask like the big heavy questions and stuff
Right.
like that. But I've never seen her behind. I think she actually done some wrestling because I saw some on her Instagram, and she might have done some like wrestling or something like that. So
I
it looked
think,
like she just does a little bit of everything.
yeah, I think maybe at one point she did, but it seems like she's kind of found her place in Impact with that. And I mean, it's like, by no means is she a Renee Paquette, because not
Mhm.
every
Me
and
either.
she's a revelation in herself, and it is absolute travesty that woman is not doing color commentary anymore, because she was fantastic doing that.
Oh, you enjoyed her on the mic?
I did. I think, she is the modern day Tony Schiavone.
Ooh, those are some really big shoes. Okay, I'm
She,
not
she,
gonna lie,
fills,
you. Mhm.
she fills them, man. She can go over there. She can get you that big interview. She can
She
leave,
does look like she have big feet. No, I agree. No,
and she
I
could
think
go
so.
and she could call the match that's going on in front of her. Not many people can do that.
Someone told me that one time. They're like, "Hey, man, you could fill in these shoes." I didn't believe it because the person was like a size 15.
Oof.
Yeah, so I was like, "Oh,
Well,
I don't think so."
I know you didn't hear that from the executive consultant. So
Well, the executive consultant does live in a shoe. I know that. Like he was the rival to. You remember that story? The lady that lived in the shoe. He lived in like a slipper because he didn't have anything to protect him. And he said, "Now I'll show you." But Eric Young explains that night. He talks about he talks about that night because you remember I forgot how many months ago it was, right? But he got stabbed, and everyone said, "Oh shoot, Eric Young got killed." Apparently that wasn't the case. He said, "I'm going to show you footage," and I might as well add that in because that was the end of the
right.
Impact show, and he stabbed. You had Dina smiling, and you have Eric, who is not dead, drags himself on a motorcycle, and then he proceeds to have this long speech about death. And he says, death is the end or be all, but I ain't dead. I hope to live for I've lived 1,000 years, and I hope to live for another 1,000 years. All this stuff. I mean, it did what it needed to do, but I wanted to just add that all in because I just feel like, I wasn't going to wait until the end of the show to do that. But then we also had a match. We had Jake something. Now I didn't get this individual's name because it didn't matter.
Davey
No,
Vega.
I did. What was his name?
Davey Vega.
You know what I put as my note? I put Jake something killed a guy. Jake something entered this ring and proceed to destroy this man. This man, he sat here and said, "Yo, you owe me 250." He backhanded him, and I think this guy got like maybe a hit or two in there and whatnot, but it didn't matter. He probably got a hit in, and I think
he did. He
you know
pulled
what
a
I think?
Grand Theft Auto. He pulled a Grand Theft Auto, and he smacked his bitch up.
Right. No, Eric, this guy. I think this guy got 3 hits in. He got a punch, and his sweat hit Jake something. Jake something got offended by this and proceed to destroy this guy, and just wreck this guy. Jake something is really, and I don't try to be funny when I say this, but Jake something is really something. This guy is just, it's great that he's back on Impact, and it's great that they are making him a beast, and I hope that I don't know what direction they're going with. So right now we have Alex Shelley as the champion. I don't know if the world champion's in his future right now, but I'm trying to look at this. I'm looking at these other championships, and you have the X Division championship. You had the digital championship. Who's the X Division champ? Oh, it's Leo Rush. Okay, boom. You had those other titles because he's not. Those are the only 2 single titles, right? Beside the world heavyweight. And it makes me go, maybe he's going to go in that direction because they're doing right now. I like how they're building him up and making him look like a threat. So I'm for it. And also, too, Jeffrey mentioned his finisher is not. It's a black hole slam. I mean, how can you go wrong with a black hole slam? But go ahead. You was doing this, and I feel like you wanted to say something. So please take the floor, sir.
No, I'm just Jake something. Jake is something. Jake something. But no. Yeah, no. It's. There's a lot going on. They got some really great stuff going on. I think what we're now seeing this new kind of stable that's forming.
Yes,
which was one of the next segments with Bully Ray, Moose, Myers, and now Leo Rush. So I don't quite understand this motley crew that they've thrown together.
Mm-hmm.
It is a very. I'm sorry.
No, I was listening. Go ahead.
No, it's a very interesting group and mix. They don't really jive. I'm not understanding what they're doing. And I don't know. I think maybe my issue here is Bully Ray. I'm not as great as he is still on the mic and doing things. I still think he's taking a spot from somebody else that could really use that spot.
I think when you have Bully in there, who's a seasoned vet, right?
He is.
I think that's the right choice to have as the mouthpiece. especially when you look at the individuals in here. I think Moose can talk. I don't want to take anything away from Moose, and I want to make sure I got this right. Brian Myers, because last week I said Kurt Hawkins.
Yes.
Habit. I think that that's the right choice to have as Bully Ray as someone as the mouthpiece. But I would sit here and throw you away as you say that. Who do you, if you had to replace Bully Ray, is there who on top of your head that you would say not Bully Ray, but this person would fit this role better?
Honestly, I would replace Bully Ray entirely. And this is going to be a little left field here. I would
Mhm.
replace that one person with two people because I think you could put Chris Bay and Ace Austin with Moose and Myers and Rush, and they could essentially.
Mm.
You don't need to be the Bullet Club, but you could definitely form a nice stable. And I think Moose could lead at that point. And you would have some nice young talent,
Right.
and it would put Moose in a good spot because he could kind of be the the ringleader of it all, and he could be the
Mhm.
godfather type of deal, kind of like what they got going on right now in WWE with Bobby Lashley and teasing with the Street Profits, and you know
Mm.
so who is the other one that he's teasing with,
Oh, you're talking about Carmelo Hayes and Trick Williams?
Carmelo and Trick, yeah.
Yeah.
So that'll be interesting, but I think they could have done something like that, and
So you would have been interested more in a youth movement rather
absolutely,
than go that route.
yes.
Okay. All right. That's different. I admittedly I would have never thought that. I that would have never crossed my mind. But so it's not a Bullet Club, but it's like, but it is. Is that what you're trying to? Is that what
You
you're
don't you
trying to?
don't need to, you don't need to make it a Bullet Club. You can make it more
Right.
of a.
You would even say like a spinoff.
You could it could be in the vein of a Bullet Club, but not a Bullet
Right.
Club.
Right. Yeah. And I would hope not either because I mean, the Bullet Club is. There was a list, and look, I don't hate the Bullet Club. I'm just tired of them. And there was a list, and it was like top 10 factions, and Bullet Club made top 5, and I thought that was ridiculous. I honestly thought that was ridiculous. I'm sorry. I
No,
just wanted to throw it out.
Bullet Club was up there, man. Bullet Club and their NJPW, when they had Styles, Cody, you know, they have a lot. The Bucks. I mean, there was some.
I think there's a legacy with them, but I do sit here and go, they were nothing more. They were really a spinoff of the NWO, and there's nothing wrong with that because the NWO was that's always going to be like one of my top factions. But I
Yes.
took them to be top 5, and there was a lot of other factions. And listen, it's subjective. I want to throw that out there. It's subjective. So if you like the Bullet Club, that's
I mean,
fantastic. Like,
but who
huh?
would you say over the NWO, the Four Horsemen, and D Generation X? Who would you definitively say beyond those three?
I would even add right now, even though they're kind of falling apart now, but you could even throw in the Bloodline. I think so, like the Shield. Like I would throw in those guys in
But you're
there, like in the.
making, but you've made
Mhm,
mainstream arguments. You
mhm.
haven't.
Oh, you're talking about outside, like
But
other.
I'm just saying, as a whole, like,
Mhm.
granted, hear me out here.
Oh, there's.
If you were walking down the street,
I do that when I go to work.
you okay when you're going down to work.
Mhm.
I think right now you might maybe see some Bloodline T-shirts, but when you're going out, let's just say you're going to the bar, you're going to the club, whatever. I think you have a better chance of seeing some Bullet Club stuff than you do.
Not for nothing. I will throw that out there. I mean, when you say that, and if you're talking about merch, no doubt, like you see Bullet Club shirts. You do see
Absolutely.
that. It sometimes as a fan, I exclude the whole merch stuff. I talk about, because wrestling is what made me a wrestling fan. We were talking earlier. You said Goldberg. Yeah, and you talk Goldberg. But I'm sorry, I had to throw up. It had nothing to do with when I said Goldberg, but Bret Hart made me a fan. So I'm just saying, like, certain things make me biased, right? But when you mention and you say merch and gear and stuff like that, there's no doubt I would be lying if I was like I didn't see a whole bunch of Bullet Club shirts. I don't think and they probably still sell. I don't think they sell like they used to because years obviously. Same thing with the NWO. Like I don't think they sell like they used to. Because you remember back in the '90s, those things were selling like hotcakes. You know that for a
Yeah.
fact. Um, but yeah, no, they do sell a lot. So I'd be remiss if I didn't say right. But it's interesting that you mentioned like not necessarily a Bullet Club faction, but to give these guys something to do. And I think what they wanted to do is keep them separated because Bay and was it Ace and Bay, they're going to be in this tag team tournament, and I guess they just wanted to keep them far away. And also too, I would sit here and ask this, and I agree with Jeffrey. You said you see more NWO shirts. Absolutely, no,
Yes.
for sure. But I do ask this, just so my brain can pick it. The tag champs is cult, culture, right? Counterculture, right? I'm hoping I'm saying his name right. But is Ace and Bay, are they babyface? Or are they like tweeners? Are they? Because they had this match, and they had one of them had a match against one of the guys from Rascals, and Rascals are flat out heels.
They
But I
are.
was wondering if Ace and Bay are heels.
Well, I, I I think they might be a little bit of a tweener,
Hmm.
but people really they like this Bullet Club that they have going on right now with them, and
Hmm.
and it's hard not to like them. They have a lot of talent. They're a good tag team together. Um, it was a very interesting pairing. I
Hmm.
was intrigued when they decided to match them together. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
and but I am curious because I think, to be completely honest with you, I think Chris Bay needed it more than Ace Austin. I thought Ace Austin was going to go off on a singles run here. Um,
Mm.
Especially with when he was teamed up with Madman Fulton and he was kind of like title chasing there for a while. I thought they might have dropped the ball on the potential of him. I thought he was still too young, too new. Kind of viewed him in the same light as I viewed MJF when he initially got his first title shot during the pandemic.
Mm.
Um, but but I think there's a lot of meat on the bone still when it comes to Ace Austin and now Chris Bay.
Okay. All right. No, I agree. There's definitely. How long have they been? Once again, just getting back in Impact. But do you know how long that they've been teaming up?
Uh, I don't even think it's been a year, man.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see it being, as you say that, like 9, 8 months,
Yeah,
8, 9 months, or something like that. Like under a year, but close to it, if that makes sense.
right. I mean, because I know we went to an Impact. I don't even remember when it was. I think it was earlier this year,
Hmm.
and I think they just kind of got like to teaming at that point.
Oh, okay. All right.
So
We had a triple threat for the Impact Digital Championship. We had Joe Hendry, Kenny King, and Yuta. I'm sorry, I didn't even put his last name. I just put Yuta.
Yuya,
Um, oh, how you say it? I'm sorry, say it for me one more
is
time.
it you? Is it you? Yuya?
Yua? Yeah, oh, yeah, Yua. Right. It's not
Yuya.
Yuta. It's Yuta. Yeah, it's like YU, I
Hey,
believe.
yeah,
And these guys went out and had it wasn't an awful match. I don't want to sit here and say like, yeah, I always have to do this mimic. I always have to mimic. It's not a 5 star to take you down, but it was a fun match. I think you had three great elements in this match. Joe Hendry, who is over with the fans.
very
I don't
much.
know. I laugh with him because his theme is so hilarious, and like when the crowd hear it, they immediately go like, "Oh, it's time to sing."
Yeah,
But I was really happy that Kenny King retained his championship. Joe Hendry in the beginning of the match, excuse me, hiccups. He in the beginning of the match, he says, he talks. Let me just go back a little bit. He says he talks about life is short, and he talks about him. He's having this match, and how his friend is joining him on his match where he's he was going to have a rematch, but now his friend is joining in. So you could see that Joe is not happy about this. It makes you even think, is there going to be a potential heel turn, or him turning on Yuya? Because it seemed like he just wasn't happy with this. He just wanted to match with Kenny King. He wanted to get revenge on Kenny King. So Kenny King for defeating him for the Impact digital championship. I don't need to say the whole name. And like I said, match was good. There was a few times where Joe and Yuya was like teaming up and taking on Kenny King, but then eventually there was the eventual Joe and Yuya would slug at each other, and and Kenny King, he was able to come through, take advantage of the situation, and pin Yuya and retain his championship. And I was happy for that because I did not want Kenny King to be dropping his championship. He just won it. I didn't
No,
think that would have been a right move,
no.
and I was for that. So
He
you
got
want to have any
rewarded. He got rewarded, I think, for staying with Impact and not
good?
going off to Ring of Honor again and AEW with his boys. I mean,
Mhm.
that's what it comes down to, and it as much right now as it looks like the Kingdom might not be this big marquee
Mhm.
team. They're
Yeah,
kind of now the gatekeepers over there at Ring of Honor again.
they are. I mean, they've been there for so many years. So
Yeah.
yeah, I see what you mean by that. Question, because as you said that, I don't know a lot about Ring of Honor, right? And you
Mhm.
were saying he didn't go with his boys, so he was a part of the Kingdom. Was he part of the Kingdom?
Well, he so when Ring of Honor folded up,
Hmm?
um, they were having Honor No More was this
Yeah,
yes, and they were
right. I remember that. Yeah,
so the the Ring of Honor crew came over to Impact. The however many it was, 8 of them, five, I don't
yeah,
whatever,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
five,
It
six,
was a
seven,
lot of them, and PCO because he's not human, so they don't count.
whatever that guy is, and then so they came over. Everything was getting rolling, and Kenny King was a big part of that.
He was. No, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
Um, And before we go into the main event, we wanted to say real quick, you guys are watching Unpopular View, the Impact Review Show. We go on air right after Impact goes off the air. You could catch me, the Great Grand Pooba, Dan the Man, sometimes the Executive Consultant. We talk about Impact. We
Tired?
run down. He was fired. He left his glasses on the table, and I proceeded to grab a sledgehammer and break them. And for whatever reason, this man has a bunch of these EC shades, which I call the Ray Charles sevens. But but every now and then he will be back on here to fill in if one of us are not on. But we like to talk about Impact. We hope you guys are enjoying this. Please, oh my God, spit went down the wrong throat. That's terrible. But if you guys are enjoying this, please give a like, love, and share. So if you're on Facebook, give us a reaction, thumbs up, heart, or whatever that stuff, because there's a bunch of things on there. If you're on YouTube, give us a thumbs up. Hell, give us a thumbs down if you have. Give us a reaction. And I sit here and say, let's talk wrestling. Maybe there's something I said that you didn't agree with, and that's okay, because I like to talk wrestling with you. You just can't be a Bill Goldberg fan. That's all. And and everything will be a-okay. And you can follow us on Instagram and all these social media things. Um, we got Sledgehammer for one shit. Absolutely, Jeffrey is. You know what I like about Jeffrey? Jeffrey loves the chaos. Jeffrey is all about chaos. I have reformed Dan the Man, the new Heart Foundation. I am Brett. I have made sure that he is Brian Pillman, and there's a bunch of other guys that are not here. But on Tuesday, one guy made Jim Neidhart, and this one guy who loves Braun Breaker so much. I said he is who I said this guy was. He was the Bulldog. I haven't found Owen yet, but because that's a special role. But yes, I am reforming the Hart Foundation because it's time that I uh, opened up for my Canadian roots. But let's talk about this main event.
Yep.
Mike Bailey, Mike Bailey, and Jonathan Gresham, and they battled the Rascals. So before this match happened, right? Mike Bailey and Jonathan Gresham, they're being interviewed, and Jonathan Gresham has been lately been really disgruntled about the rules and Impact. You know,
Yep.
this is a former ROH World Champion. He believes in honor and rules. He believes in rules. But lately, you just feel like there have been no rules here in Impact.
Mhm.
People are just doing whatever. And I agree because, like the Rascals last week, they were littering. So yeah, I do agree that we need to put rules out there because littering it's not cool.
She's
And I
not.
know this because I'm a maintenance worker. So if I could tell a real story, a story real quick. I work in a building, worked there for 15 years. Showing my age. And as I was cleaning this building, you know what someone did? So I have a phobia of mice, right? Right. And I feel like people know that, right? Right. And some jackass in this building left a mouse on a sticky by the window, and I was very upset. And he was alive, and it bothered me because it looked like he was asking to be free. And I'm like, dog, he's not even a dog, he's a mouse. I'm like, dude, I hate you. But boom. My point is, littering sucks. Don't do it. Don't be a jackass. It's not cool. It's not the trend. It's not a good trend. I don't care if TikTok says jackass is a trend. Don't do it. But my point, but moving forward, Jonathan Gresham is against these things. But Mike Bailey, right? He's the kind of individual who he's so upbeat. He's a really upbeat dude. Like you can't really say anything bad about Mike Bailey. He was like, "Well, us together, I think we can overcome anything." I believe that he watched Captain Planet. Oh, was you a fan of Captain Planet back in the day,
I
Dan the
was.
Man?
I was. Earth, wind,
Da-
water, fire.
Dan the Man. Working with you solo, I've discovered that. I'll sit here and say I never liked Captain Planet, but the theme was always a banger. I do want to throw that out there. The theme was a banger, so I will give you that. Um, but he's upbeat and he says, we can overcome anything. And Jonathan Gresham said, "Dude, just have my back, and I have your back." To Mike Bailey, he smiles at it, and we get this match. Mike Bailey, Jonathan Gresham against the Rascals. I thought this was a really good match. I thought it was fun. I thought you had a lot of good elements into this match. Mike Bailey is somebody I've never seen him wrestle in person. And same thing with Jonathan Gresham and the Rascals. But the stuff that I see, and he's been out here a few times in New York, but he's something like he's not like one of my favorites or anything like that. But I can appreciate his work if that hopefully that makes sense.
Yeah.
He's out there. Him and Jonathan are showcasing their skills against the Rascals. The Rascals are just trying to cheat because that's what they do. They're rascals. They cheat.
Yep.
It's funny. I was tweeting, and I know the Rascals. There used to be three of them, right? One of them right now is in WWE. Wes Lee. He's I'm going to sit here and say the greatest North American champion of all time. The executive would tell you almost a Dom Toretto, but Dominic Mysterio, but let's not do that. But they do this thing like this, right? But I was watching, and as I was tweeting, and I was looking for a GIF for the Rascals. They literally did that in the Rascals in the 1990s TV show. I mean, TV show movie, and that just blew my mind because I did not know that. So I just thought that was I thought that was incredible. I said, "Oh, that's probably a callback to that because of the Rascals and all that stuff." I thought that was really cool. I just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah.
But I thought this match was good. The Rascals cheat, get the win. They pin Mike Bailey,
Really.
and Mike Bailey and Jonathan Gresham are eliminated from this tag team tournament, and the Rascals move on. Not surprising.
No.
Do you? Let me ask. I mean, I don't have the bracket in front of me, and hopefully next week maybe we'll have a bracket and stuff like that. In the thing, so we could just look at it. But do you look at the Rascals as a favorite to go for the Impact Tag Team Champions?
I think at this point you have to.
Subculture, yeah, against Subculture. Because
Yeah.
I said the name wrong, but okay, go ahead.
I think at this point you do have to look at them as the favorites because they've been heavily featured. They're on there. They brought back
Yeah,
Wentz and
yeah,
you know, and as much as um, gosh, I'm drawing a blank, man. I'm drawing a
sure.
blank.
On hold,
Trey,
on hold.
Trey,
Yeah, yeah. Trey Miguel.
Trey Miguel. As
Mhm.
much as he is a fantastic performer, he's kind of lost some momentum here.
Yeah,
And you pair the Rascals back together, and it revitalizes his life, his career. Gives him some fresh air,
yeah.
and they're doing a pretty nice thing here. They're doing the heel run, and they're doing it rather well. And I think they need the tag belts at this point, and because I just don't know where Trey Miguel goes from here. Because if he's not going to be a singles competitor now and do tag team, he needs the tag titles. They both do.
I think if you give him the tag titles, right, it establish. So they were reunited. Uh, what 3 4 weeks ago. I
Yeah,
think it's something about it established that it gives them something. I know I find the right exact vernacular for this, but I think you put the titles on them, it makes them seem like a big deal, and it makes them it just give them something to do.
it does. I agree.
So I mean that was the Impact review.
That was
We kept it underneath an hour. I'm sorry. Go ahead. You wanted to
we
say
did. I
something, sir?
mean, but you had that little end segment though, which was very bizarre.
What we talking about? The one with Eric Young?
Yes.
We combined it, but please, why don't you add some thoughts? Because I did think that was bizarre too. But please add some thoughts on what did you think about
I
this
mean,
segment?
I feel they decided to answer a question that you didn't necessarily have to answer. Um,
Mhm.
and I don't know if it was the right thing to acknowledge what happened to Eric Young, but I think in the manner with which they did it could have been so much better. I think you just got left with a really ridiculous reasoning and it just kind of ended off and you're like,
Mhm.
okay, so are we done with this? Like, I mean, it just kind of left you like, whatever.
I think they wanted to because people were gonna always ask like, "Well, he died. Why is he back alive?" Right? And I guess they felt like we needed to touch it. I'll give them credit for at least acknowledging it. Because sometimes in wrestling they just don't acknowledge nothing. Now you can sit there and say they didn't have to, they didn't have to, they didn't have to, right? But I feel like I don't even know what I feel like. I just give them credit for at least trying.
It was
Sometimes in
unnecessary.
wrestling, you don't think it was necessary.
I don't. I just I
Hmm.
think what it was, if you're gonna touch on it,
Hmm.
you don't just say like, "Oh, he like Eric Young is more than life. He Eric Young is an idea, and he's gonna live forever." Like, what? Like, what?
You know what bothered me throughout this whole this I call it the Snyder cut, right? Because we wasn't gonna get this at all, but then he came back and they were like, "Oh, we got to have a Snyder cut, right?"
Right.
Why was it that I thought they were in a prison? So why was it that all of a sudden he was outside, and then it was like, "Oh, let me ride my motorcycles and let me do my best impersonation of Undertaker, American Badass." Now I thought that was weird. I do sit here and go, that was odd to me, and I didn't understand that. But I do credit them for at least touching on it and at least trying. But I can also sit here and go understand where you're coming from, where you're like, we didn't have to talk about this.
No.
No. Because
No.
all you had to do was sitting there saying, yeah, yeah. Like honestly, when you said that, he could have went the route of, Yeah, I got stabbed, but that don't mean because people get stabbed. I don't want to say people get stabbed
Right.
every
I
day. That's
mean,
terrible. But he could just said like, yeah, but he didn't finish the job.
right. I mean, simply to say like, oh, I was left, he was left for dead, and then I came back to exact my revenge, and I vowed to get that, and it's like, boom, done, end of story. Like you didn't.
Hmm.
I mean, you're just gonna crawl to your motorcycle, and not only are you just
That
like, and then like I'm just convulsing over here, bleeding all over the place. Let me put my helmet on and then drive away. Like, don't insult my intelligence. Don't.
I don't know what's going on. I'm laughing at Jeffrey. He says a half dead guy riding a motorcycle. Yes, he was a half dead guy riding a motorcycle, and he is not the Undertaker. It stuff like that was weird. But once again, I'll stand
on the ground with this and say, well, at least they tried. Did they need to? Maybe they didn't, and sure, but I do appreciate that they at least tried. At least they tried because there's so many things in wrestling that is left and there's no answer for, and maybe you're like that was for the best, but it was like no, it wasn't for the best. Maybe this was one of those things that it was for the best that it wasn't touched.
Well, yeah, I mean, and here's the thing: it wasn't a
Sure.
live episode, so like you had weeks to figure this out,
Hmm.
to look at it in front of test markets, groups, whatever, throw it out there, and this is the best you could come up with. Disappointing. Disappointing. It's disappointing because I remember golden era for
Hmm.
Impact, TNA wrestling, when they were getting, 3.5, 3.5, 4 million viewers.
Hmm.
And now they're like maybe
It's
getting
not the same.
100,
No, it legitimately is not the same. It's funny. I was talking to a friend today, and I was telling him, I'm getting ready for this Impact review show, and I said, Impact, and there's some really good stuff on Impact. I do want to throw that out there. There are great things. And I'm glad that we are doing this review show about it because there's a lot of stars that like. It's great seeing Deanna Purrazzo because I always thought she was great, and I thought that was a shame. It's great seeing Trinity because she's great. Matter of fact, when I was watching today or tonight, I'm sorry, and seeing Taylor Wilde, and I remember I was like, man, like 13 years ago, she was like this unknown. You remember she came out of nowhere, beat
Yeah.
Awesome Kong because Awesome Kong. And I do want to throw out here real quick that they are having because they're going to reach, they're going to be going for their 1,000th episode. So shout out to Impact for that. And they will be having some Impact legends talking about the beautiful people. And I mentioned her earlier, Awesome Kong, and I think that's great because I think Awesome Kong was fantastic. The beautiful people also contribute a lot to that. And maybe one day that's what we'll do. Maybe we'll have an Impact rewind. I think me and you, Dan, what we can do is maybe one day just put current Impact on the side, and maybe we can review some old school Impact because Impact throwback. I know they have their own streaming site and all that stuff. But maybe one day that's what we'll do. We'll maybe make that a project. 'Cause I would love to go and watch some old school Impact with you because as you say these things, it makes me go like, man, Impact back in the day. And also too, if I could just say real quick, everyone shits on Impact 2010. I do want to sit here and say there were gems in 2010. I
Oh
do
yeah.
want to throw that out there. I do
Oh
want to
yeah.
throw that out there.
Yeah, fantastic times back then.
Yes.
2010 was, they had some great things going on. I mean, I don't know if you want to contribute just shelling out all that cash to Hulk Hogan is where it all just went wrong. But they really had some great talent. I mean, they had
Yeah.
prime Kurt Angle. They had Percocet Kurt Angle. That man was bonkers, man.
Kurt Angle back in 2010 was killing it. And matter of fact, when you think about 2010, and I'd sit there and go because I think I'm a big fan of WWE 2K, and when you play these games, you make
Yep.
your fantasy matches and all this stuff. And to think about 2010 when you're having RVD against Sting, I never thought I would ever see that. I don't even think I ever asked for that match, but seeing that Kurt Angle going against Sting, and I mean they were in Impact together for a long period of time at that point. But just so many great things that I think happened in 2010. Uh, um, there was one match. What was it? Kurt Angle, Jeff Hardy, and RVD against Kevin Nash, Scott Hall, and X Pac. I said, so what year is this? Just, I'm sorry, we're just going down memory lane here talking about Impact, but and Jeffrey says, "Awesome Kong was awesome, pun intended. Fantastic stuff."
Yep.
But we're going to end the stream before I lose my voice. We
Oh.
want to say thank you guys for watching Unpopular View, the Impact Review Show. We are here once again on Thursdays, right after Impact goes off the air. You can catch the Great Grand Poobah along with Dan the Man. Sometimes the executive consultant. He can grab his glasses every now and then off my desk and be the executive consultant. And we got Jacob or Jacob Robinson. He says, hi, thank you for tuning in. It's pretty much the end of the stream, but we hope that you tune in and join us next week. So please give us a like, and hopefully that you will see us more on your YouTube as a recommendation. Jeffrey mentioned the Main Event Mafia. Absolutely. Matter of fact, a lot of the guys here in Unpopular View mentioned how they are so underrated, if you will.
Yes.
Like a lot of people don't talk about the great. I said the great. I'm sorry, but they are great. The Main Event Mafia, and they did some really great stuff. Jacob mentioned The Rock returns SummerSlam. I don't see that. I really don't. I think a lot of people have high hopes about that, but I don't see that being a thing. I just don't.
I mean, I think we have to have a nice big finish to SummerSlam, and
Sure.
I think getting another Roman win, and then it just kind of goes off like, oh, I'm gonna raise my belts, I won, it's over. I don't know that's the way to end this show. I think
Who do you? So you're saying someone has to come out after the match?
if you could get The Rock, you get The Rock, and you
Mhm.
don't think much more about it. The Rock comes out, confronts the tribal chief, sets up their long awaited match feud, which you don't need to have the big payout until WrestleMania. And I mean, I don't know if it's SummerSlam, but I definitely think you got to do it by Survivor Series.
Survivor Series seemed more ideal because I feel like at Mania is going to be Cody again. I just can't help but go. It's going to be Cody and him at Mania again, especially after that documentary. I don't know if you saw it. It was a really good documentary. The American Nightmare Becoming Cody Rhodes.
Right.
Towards the end, they show when he loses to Roman Reigns, and then he loses to Roman Reigns. He says, "This is not over. I haven't finished my story," and I can't help but go, "Yeah, they're trying to make that another. They're trying to make that Mania too."
Absolutely.
And also, too, Jeffrey mentioned The Rock debuted at Survivor Series, but they also been talking about too when saying this, The Rock. We're talking about Roman Reigns, and right, that would be the big payoff in story.
Right.
But you know who's been picking a fight with The Rock is one Grayson Waller.
Yep.
That's why I said and say I don't think he if he does, there'll be a great surprise. I would be sitting there saying I was wrong, and I have no problem being wrong, but I just don't see that being a thing. But go ahead.
I wouldn't expect anything. I'd just say get your popcorn ready. I think we're gonna have a pretty good show ahead of us on Saturday.
Sure.
And I'm excited for it. I think we're gonna get some good wrestling. And this is the second biggest show of the year next to WrestleMania. So
yeah,
I have high.
And it's honestly one of my favorites too. Like WrestleMania, you always get hype, but Survivor Series always hold a special. I mean, Survivor Series. I'm sorry, SummerSlam, because they're both two S's. But SummerSlam has always been special, and I think SummerSlam for me, because my birthday is in August, SummerSlam is in August, and I just can't help but go like, I love you, dude. So yeah, and you got Jeffrey. I want Randy to return, but we'll see. There's talks about it, but we'll have to wait and see. But we hope that you guys enjoy this Impact Review show.
Yep.
You can catch us on Public Review. We're here pretty much almost every day. Monday, there's 2 shows. 6 o'clock is the Mike Knox show. It's for the intelligent wrestling fan. And around 10 o'clock, we have something called the Wrestling Podcast. You can catch the executive consultant if you miss him and his insults. And him and one coolest of the day, Stephen Pena. They sit here and they talk during Raw, during the week of wrestling. So that's fantastic. You can catch me on Tuesdays with the Wrestling Doll. We talk NXT. So that is where you guys can catch me. And Wednesday there is an AEW show. They review it's Z to Silent and sometimes a special guest. I was on yesterday. I've been on quite a few shows.
Yeah.
I've been doing so much extra work at this point. I want a cake that just says "Thank you, Jack." That's all. Coconut cake, by the way, because that's my fave. But you can catch Z to Silent. He's on, and right after Dynamite go off the air, they talk about AEW Dynamite. They talk about John Moxley bleeding. It's a great time. So tune into that. Also, AEW, I'm sorry. And then also, too, you can catch us back here for the Impact Review Show. Also, on Popular Review, we have an entertainment channel. They just reviewed Incredibles 2. Earlier this week, they reviewed one of the uh, Hunger Game shows, movies. So please check that out if you're interested on that. And we did a review on Invincible. There was a special. It's called Adam Eve. We did a review on that, so check that out. There's all this. There's so much content here on Popular Review. So continue to follow us on social media. Continue to follow us here on YouTube, and we will be back here. There's no show tomorrow. There was a prediction show earlier, so if you guys missed it, check that out. There's a Dark Side of Dark Side of the Ring review. I gotta watch Bash at the Beach because this seemed like this was an interesting show. I'm gonna. Oh, you said check it out. I'm gonna check it out.
Listen, I'm going to tell you this. I left watching that show, this episode, with answers, but more questions.
Oh, I can't wait to see it. I mean, I heard that everyone looked pretty bad at this, but I'm gonna check it out. Oh, you said. Oh, he said. And we hope that you guys enjoyed this review. Thank you, Jeffrey. No days off, Jack. Listen, one day you're not going to see me for a few days, Jeffrey, and you're going to sit in and say, "Where is Jack?" So everyone, we need to get that hashtag. Thank you, Jack, or I will just like be back and yell. Where is the thing? Let's end the show. Dan the Man, thank you for a fantastic Impact Review show. You're doing a fantastic job. I know you're new here to Unpopular Review, but you are fitting in just well. And I know this because I am the gatekeeper here for the Unpopular Review. It's not the executive consultant. The executive consultant collects owls. And I know he'll be watching this back, and I might be fired next week. So, with that said, we're going to hit the outro. And we say thank you, guys. And Dan the Man, let's say bye to the people.
Have a good evening. Stay safe. Do good unto others. And watch Impact Wrestling.
Damn, that was good. I have no follow-up to that. I'm just going to sit here and say, eat tacos.
There you go.
Bye, folks. Oh, that thing didn't even click. Click. Thanks for watching the Impact Review Show. You guys are great. We hope to catch you guys next week. And be well. And, yeah, eat tacos.